Mums with Hustle podcast, episode 520.
Welcome to the Mums with Hustle podcast, where you'll discover everyday mum entrepreneurs killing it in their industry. Learn the secrets you can replicate to create your own success with your host, Tracy Harris.
Today we're going to be getting strategic. If your sales page is getting clicks, meaning people are coming over from Instagram, or maybe you're running some meta ads, people are clicking through on those ads, they're landing on your sales page. But if it's not converting into sales the way that you want it to, I want you to hear me out when I say this. It is very likely not your offer. It is very likely not your pricing. It's not even that people don't want what you're selling. It's highly likely that your hook and headline, those first words, those big words at the top of your sales page, aren't doing their job. That's a messaging problem, and it's easy to fix. It's also one of the leading reasons why people aren't making more sales, and it deserves your attention. So because that space at the top of your sales page is so important, it really is what I call it's your money-making space, because those first few lines decides whether someone feels like they're in the right place or whether they click out and keep scrolling on Instagram or get back to their Facebook news feed and just forget that you ever existed. Because if they're coming from some content on social media, whether it's your organic content or maybe it's paid ads, and those paid ads or that piece of content really hooked them and spoke right to them, but now they're landing on a sales page and it just feels different, or it's not very clear and those words aren't compelling, you have lost them. So it all really matters. And today I want to help you tighten up your messaging. So if that's something that you've ever doubted or questioned, or if you're creating a new offer and you want to start with the correct messaging from scratch, then you're in the right place. This episode is made especially for you. I'm going to walk you through the top 3 mistakes that digital entrepreneurs make when they're writing their hook and headline of their sales page. And most importantly, I'm going to tell you how to fix it. This episode is going to be practical, it's going to be simple, and it's going to be something that you can take immediate action on if you choose. So I do recommend that you grab a pen and a notebook for this one. So whether you're about to launch, or maybe you're rewriting an old sales page or tweaking and adjusting, or if you've been wondering why your page isn't getting the conversions that you want, you're going to love this episode, so let's dive in. So why this topic? Well, firstly, one of the things that I do a lot inside of my Freedom Filled Business mentorship and inside of the mastermind and with private clients is that I review their sales pages. And I can tell you right now the difference between a sales page that is meh and a high converting sales page often comes down to the words at the very top. So once we massage those words, once we come up with clearer, higher converting messaging, they start to see more sales, and programs even sell out, not one time, not twice, but every time, because people are not reading sales pages the way that you might be imagining that they're reading it. In fact, the majority of people will arrive on a sales page and they skim and scan. So if your message doesn't land instantly, they're gone. If it's not clear, because maybe it's trying to be too clever and wordsy and fun, you are at risk of losing those customers. And it takes so much work and bandwidth, resources and money to even get an individual over to a sales page, whether you're doing ads or not, even organically. You are either paying with your money or you're paying with your time and your effort to put out that free content and to have someone click over to a page only for them to slip through the cracks of weak and poor or mismatched messaging. That really sucks. And we want to eliminate that. So like I said, there are 3 mistakes that when you fix them, you can literally feel your sales page become more powerful instantly. So mistake number 1, write this down, is when your headline describes the offer and not the outcome. And this is a big one. If your headline is describing what the offer is, meaning it's the thing that you're selling, but it is not selling what the offer does, which you may hear me and other coaches talk about as the transformation, then that is a little red flag or a big one. So what it looks like is so many entrepreneurs writing headlines that maybe sound like, introducing an 8-week group program, or where they're referring to it up in bold letters as a self-paced course, a 6-month mentorship with, 21 video lessons and or even a high-level mastermind. Yes, those things might be true. And letting people know the container word, letting people know, is it a mastermind? That's a container word. Letting people know, is it a 8-week course? That is important. However, that doesn't go in your hook. That goes in your positioning statement. Also at the top of the sales page, but that's a different section. And people often get this mixed up, and it is costing them from making their impact and ultimately making that revenue in their business. So none of those examples that I shared above are really answering the buyer's question, which is, what am I going to get? What's it going to change for me? Or what result does this create? Now, when I say, what am I going to get? You might be thinking, oh, Tracy, you said that we can't tell them that they're going to get an 8-week course to help them with their mindset. That is not letting someone know what they're going to get. That's not what the customer wants to hear. They're focused more on what's in it for me. So that might be a more helpful way to reframe that if it's feeling a little complicated at the moment. And I get that, because here's the truth. People aren't buying the format. They're buying the outcome. They're buying the what's in it for me. They're buying a transformation. They're buying a result. They will buy the version of themselves on the other side. That's what they're buying. And so you want to remember that when you are writing your hook at the top of your sales page. So instead of saying a 10-week program to help you skyrocket your business, you could say something like, and this is just a random example, but you could say something like, grow a predictable, well, for my case, I would say freedom-filled, but that's mine. I've trademarked that. I'm just using myself as an example. Grow a predictable, freedom-filled business that actually pays you consistently without working harder. So that would be something that I could have at the top of a sales page of mine, okay? But can you see how I'm not saying that it is a 8-week course with 21 lessons and 5 Q&As and 27 worksheets? We want to move away from selling the offer and deliverables and move into selling the transformation and what's in it for them. So look at your current headline and just ask yourself, if I removed the name of the program, would someone know what result this creates? And if the answer is no, then it needs tightening. And the cool thing is, if you go to tracyharris.co/$1,000,000message, you can go ahead and you can purchase for only $129 Australian. You can purchase my $1,000,000 message workshop. It is available now. It's on demand. You can watch it in one go. It's short. It's concise. It walks you through everything step by step to absolutely nail with confidence the words that you write at the top of your sales page so that you are selling out your programs and increasing those conversions. So just go to tracyharris.co/$1,000,000 message now, and it'll tell you exactly what you get there. and you can purchase it now and watch it now for only $129 and you have lifetime access. So that's really cool. Let's dive into mistake number 2, which is that your hook is too vague. And if it's too vague, it's not going to create any urgency or any recognition. So people aren't going to know that you're really speaking to them or you can help them with their specific problem. This is when the words at the top of your sales page may sound really clever and quirky and cool, and maybe you've created a brand that is all about that. Or maybe the words sound really nice and inspiring, but they're not grabbing someone. They're not creating urgency. They're not creating instant identity and recognition. They're not creating that, oh my gosh, this is me feeling. And quite often what it looks like is cliche or overused phrases in copy that have become really trending. But with that, it dilutes the potency of your work and it just makes you blend in and people zone out. So it sounds like it's time to step into your next level, or activate your next level of success, or stop playing small, or it's your time to receive. All of these seemingly nice phrases are not specific enough to convert. I'm not saying that these sentiments are wrong, and I'm not saying that they don't even belong further down on your sales page, but we're talking specifically about your hook and headline at the top of your sales page. And writing phrases like this is not going to lead to conversions, or at least not the conversions that you're wanting, because your buyer, when they arrive and they look at that page, at those words at the top, they're not seeking inspiration from the top of your sales page. They want clarity. They want to know, what are we actually doing here? What problem is this going to solve? Is this for someone like me? Is this the missing piece of my puzzle? So when the hooks are vague, the brain has to work too hard. Donald Miller talks about this. He's used the phrase brain calories. And when I heard that, I thought, I'm going to be saying that over and over again. And every time I do, and I've had the privilege of consulting some really high multiple 7-figure female business owners. And when I've shared that analogy with them about the brain calories, that stuck with them. If your audience is wasting too many brain calories trying to figure out what the heck it is that this thing is, and if it's for them, you have lost the sale. Because if someone has to think too hard, they don't keep reading. They just click out. So here's another example, and I'll just use myself as an example, okay? So instead of me saying something like, create a magnetic message and boost your business. Okay, so that's very kind of fluffy, but sounds nice, right? Instead of saying that, I could say something that is more along the lines of conversion copywriting, which is a completely different skill. And again, that's what we dive deep into in $1 Million Message. So if you want to check it out, go to tracyharris.co/$1 Million Message and you can grab that. But I would adjust my copy at the top of the sales page to say something like, if you're sick of feeling like you're doing everything right, but your sales page still isn't converting, this will show you exactly what to say so that your offer sells every single time. Because that's more specific. That is more clear. That creates more urgency. Instead of that, create magnetic messaging that boosts your business. That is just far too vague and not tangible. All right. Mistake number 3 is that your hook and your headline could belong to anybody. It could belong to anybody. And in a world where people need to be discerning, because there are so many frauds on the internet, there are so many people just jumping onto ChatGPT and creating programs and slapping it onto beautifully designed pages, your audience is skeptical, and rightfully so. So you've got to make sure that your hook and headline stands out as being recognizably yours and not so bland that it could belong to everybody. And a lot of the times when I see this, what people are writing is technically true. We don't all have to reinvent the wheel. I'd argue that we shouldn't be reinventing the wheel. However, if you're not saying what makes you different or what makes this experience different, you're going to just blend in and again lose the sale. So vague messaging or overused messaging, or rather messaging that could be taken by anyone, could be phrases like this: grow your business online, get more clients, build more consistent income. I'm just using examples from my own niche, okay? So you're going to have to take this and adapt this to your setting, whether you sell, services, physical products, digital courses, and masterminds online. You're going to have to do the adjustment there, okay? But, saying things like create freedom and flexibility, grow your audience and make sales, like anyone could take that and slap that on their own page. It is not credibility building for you. And if you've got cold traffic coming to this page, it can also make them feel like, oh, this is just the same as something else, or this isn't something to be trusted. Again, there's nothing wrong with these. And all of these statements and sentiments are true, but your buyer has seen those phrases 1,000 times. So they read it and they don't feel pulled in. They don't feel like this is the solution. They feel like, yeah, cool, but why you? Or, yeah, I've seen this 1,000 times, so why this program? Or what makes this different? So if our headlines aren't creating differentiation as well, your page becomes a bit of a comparison game. And they're thinking about you in comparison to everybody else in your niche. Or they're just bouncing out of there because they're not trusting it. All right, let's recap the 3 main mistakes so that you can go through the rest of the year and every other sales page that you write in your business or ones that you're reviewing for your clients and avoid these costly mistakes. Mistake number 1, your headline describes the offer, not the outcome. Mistake number 2, your hook was too vague. And mistake number 3, your hook and headline could belong to anyone. And if you fix these 3 things, I promise you, your sales page will immediately feel stronger. And the same principles that I teach in $1 Million Message, just go to tracyharris.co/$1 Million Message. There is no E in Tracy. If you go there, you will find, and if you purchase that, you will find that what you learn there, you can apply to any copy that you're putting at the top of a opt-in page, copy that you're putting at the top of your webinar registration page. You will be using the skills and the framework that I teach in $1 Million Message over and over and over again. So you can go and grab it now for, did I say 129 or 127? It's one of those. Just go to tracyharris.co/$1 Million Message now to check that out. Because knowing the mistakes is one thing, but having someone walk you through step by step through actually writing, because that's what you're going to do in this workshop, actually writing simple, clear, high converting hooks and headlines that sells your programs, that's what changes the game. This workshop is hands-on and it is completely on demand. You get instant access, lifetime access, watch it immediately. And at the end, you'll know exactly what to write at the top of your sales page so that your message lands and your program sells out every single time. Thank you for being here and joining me in this episode. I can't wait to see you receiving the sales that you deserve. And I just know how good it feels to finally have messaging that converts. And I want that for you. So I'll see you next week on the podcast.